Look, the encourages me to the Easy by you, shot a goal! A goal for Kiladangan! It's alright, ain't no God in mine.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Along the Line. This week we're going to preview the quarter-final action in this weekend's FBD Insurance Hurling Championship in Tipperary. Obviously we've a couple of relegation games to go through as well. We're also going to look back on last weekend's action in the preliminary quarter-final stage in the senior, Premier Intermediate and Intermediate. This week I'm joined by Tomás Matthews from ckstreaming, James Hayden from the Nenagh Guardian and Liam Hogan from the Nenagh Guardian as well. Lads, how are we this week? Are we looking forward to the weekend's action?
Very much so.
Very much so.
Yeah, no, we had a cracking weekend last weekend. We only had 4 games last weekend, but I think all 4 kind of threw up something special in their own account. We're going to go straight into it. We're going to start there with the Nenagh Rogue and Thurles game. Obviously, lads, probably the game of the weekend, and it lived up to the, I suppose, the battle of, I suppose, two teams' favourites for the county championship. Thurles won on a scoreline 127 to 123. Liam, I'll start with you. I was actually there with you for the second half of the game, and I was very impressed with Nenagh in the sense, I look back in the game as well, I was very impressed with Nenagh in the sense that missing all those bodies, the drama of the last day against Moneygall, a real fight came out in Nenagh, but I think too much class for Thurles in the end.
Yeah, too much class. I saw yourself myself, we saw the last 20 minutes of it, and Nenagh made a fight of it. But it seems strange to me how Nenagh allowed Rowan Maher to dictate the whole game, because he was left there, as James alluded to in his match report there, he was left control the whole time. No one was coming in and take him on, go man to man. It's one of these things that I've seen happen in so many games in the last number of months, where clubs won't take on go man to man on a team when they're especially when they're behind and they're trailing, because you might as well be beaten by 10 points, beaten by 6. You know, it's a fantastic crowd at the game too, but it seemed to be a decent game all through. The reason I wasn't at the game was I was at an under-19 semi-final in Holycross between Silvermines.
We might touch on that as well. Okay. I think that was the game of the year. That was an absolute cracking game. James, look, you were there for the game. Talk to us. Just give us a quick synopsis of the game. Were Thurles full value for the 4 points, or should have been more? Talk to us there.
Thurles were full value for the 4 points, Gary. Look, I felt that in the overall scheme of things in the game, I think there was a lack of physicality in the game, particularly from the Nenagh side. Okay. And I thought, like, you know what I mean, it was a comment was made afterwards, and that Nenagh were a little bit too gentlemanly in the game. So, like, and it was kind of going, like, Thurles won't be sore after the game. That's what I was thinking myself. But look, as Liam said there, Ronan Maher hit ball after ball after ball, but he was allowed hit ball after ball after ball. But the directional ball he gave in was perfect for the Thurles forwards. Like Shawnee Butler there scored 4 points in the first half. Now he picked up an injury after that, but like they were full value for their victory. Nenagh only hurled for about 9 minutes. Really hurled for 9 minutes. Really took the game to them. And when they took the game to Sars for that 9-minute period, they cut the deficit down to 1 solitary point. Now, King Crowley came on and he was just unlucky. He did well after coming on. He could have actually levelled proceedings. He was just unlucky, tail to the right and wide. But like the goal that Sam Farr scored as well brought them back in that period, a cracking goal. But Thurles were still Thurles edged in front again, and were allowed kind of dictate the latter stages as well. I felt that Nenagh had thundered more into the game. They were just standing back a little. Plus the directional ball into the forwards. There's no point of putting big high ball down on top of Jake. And in fairness to Jake Morris, he scored 4 points from play. But the ball that was coming in wasn't good enough for him. And you had Dennis Maher mopping up, and you had Dennis Maher, you had all the Mahers basically surrounding him inside there. Even like number 17, he was started. Paul Maher started on him. Did a great job on him. But any ball that broke, Ronan was there and Dennis was there. You needed ball, low ball, directional ball out in front of Jake for them to for Nina to have really have pushed forward, pushed closer than they were at the end. One final point I'm just going to say with the loss of Ben West and the loss of Keane Crowning, the loss particularly Tommy Heffernan, those lads, you really need them. And they're worth a few points. Definitely the two boys. Tommy Heffernan's worth 2 or 3 or 4 points in the game. And you need them. Ben West was impressive throughout the year as well, and they did miss them. They did miss them.
Yeah, and Ben is just a fierce direct hurler, and probably that was something probably Nina didn't do enough. And we saw in the second half, Liam probably run direct at Thurles enough. As you're saying, 10 minutes, that's a fair synopsis, James. Probably only hurled to their potential for 10 minutes. And what we saw as well, the ball going at Jake, the frustration of Jake as well, like sometimes like he was giving out and rightly giving out as well. But Tomás, just really briefly on it, because we won't know your thoughts on this spare man role and clubs not pushing up in it. It was so evident with Ronan. Not only was Ronan the spare man, he was sitting right in front of Jake as well. So it was a double conundrum for Nina. But like just on this spare man, we see it every week. Like what is the answer to it, Tomás?
Look, I like a broken record now at this stage. Like leaving somebody of the quality of Ronan Maher is suicidal. Like you've nobody to blame, only yourself. Letting put ball after ball after ball. The day of the old style centre back picking up somebody seems to be gone, and when it is done, a centre back doesn't want to mark somebody. So I think that you should be going man on man at this stage, like, because we've seen it the other night as well in the under 17 where Tom Delaney for Borris-Ileigh was allowed to do what he wanted as well and dictate the game, and the amount of centre backs that are getting man of the match at this day and age, it's an absolute joke. And management just have their style of play and they don't want to change, and even when it's not working, and like Ronan Maher being allowed clear ball after ball, Nina have nobody to blame, only themselves really.
Yeah, and Ronan did pick up Man of the Match, which was sponsored by Gold Standard there and Keane MacDonald. So like just before we move on to Moneygall and Clonoulty, Liam, you've been around the game long enough. Is this I suppose the solution to this? Do you sacrifice someone? Right, you are on him all day. I don't care if you puck a ball or not. You are on Ronan Maher, and that's it. Is that what you need to do to stop these kind of things?
That's my view of it. I thought Thomas said there. Yeah, I've seen 4 games in the last 3 weeks where the centre back was given a free role, and it just we alluded to under 17, and I mentioned that later. That was one of the games, not under 17, under 19 B final. To me, it's a management doesn't trust their forward line to win their 50-50 ball. That's what it basically boils down to, and you're going to have to trust them because and call it old style if you want to. I don't mind what you call it, but it's a 15-man game, and it should be the 15. All the positions in the field should be we should be going man for man. I know there are times you have to sort of bring back the extra man and maybe to ease the pressure for a while and then things cool down. But when you're staring into a defeat and you're a quarter an hour to go, there's only one thing to do.
Yeah, as you said, we saw there were Colin Kennedy there for Tracy's and McCarthy as well against the Mines in the 19 final. Tom Delaney gave an absolute exhibition. 3 of us were at that there Monday night. And again, look, congratulations to Tracy and McCarthy in beating the Mines, but congratulations to Borris-Ileigh who won the 17A final. We'll move on to Clonoulty and Moneygall. This was an absolute cracker. I was watching this game after finishing up in Clonmel doing another game. Clonoulty won 23, Moneygall won 20. James, Clonoulty, I suppose, on the back of call a spade, probably an absolutely brutal county championship. But they always have this, they do have the fight and dog in them, but they showed a bit of quality. A lot of lads come back from injury, 1 or 2 is from travelling as well. Moneygall, at the start of the year, were probably everyone's favourites to go down. I think Moneygall keep their heads up very high for the year that they had, but fair play to Clonoulty for digging this out. I
think both teams have kind of had a kind of a topsy-turvy type of a year and approach to things. Like you'd have to say, like Clonoulty in the game, they overcame Moneygall, okay, but not by a huge amount, but they did look to have that little bit more in the tank.
Yeah.
And I think Hammersley coming back is Conor Hammersley being back I think from the States is a really big it's a big boost for them, and you could see like Hammersley did Clonoulty as a team, the more they're playing, the better they're getting to a certain extent, and like while while they go out now, do you know what I mean, this weekend, and what's going to be a real cracking encounter against Toom, like, you know, you're wondering, are they really going to show up and turn up again?
Yeah.
Like they did Monaghan against Nina. Like no one expected what happened in that game. You wouldn't have expected the three sendings off in that game. But I think that fixture as a whole, Clonoulty were definitely deserving winners at the end of it, definitely. But credit to Monaghan, like, you know,
No,
they put it up to them, but just didn't have enough in the end to get over the line.
No, I suppose then Clonoulty, Liam, point of view, Robbie Doyle was excellent again, clover around the match.
Yeah.
Jack Ryan had a good game as well, but Conor Hammersley as well, I think that's a massive plus. Not just Conor's, I suppose, his quality as a hurler, I think the leadership as well that Conor brings. I think he only got a point from play, but watching the game, there was a lot of talking being done. Clonoulty now, I suppose, they're in that conundrum. They're in a quarter-final against Toom, which I'd say they very well fancy themselves against Toom, a young Toom team, but they also have that in the back burner about the relegation. How do they face into this weekend now? I suppose, like, just going into this, if they keep winning, and then the following week they're out in a relegation semi-final, and we've seen teams who are hurling or playing football 5-6 weeks in a row, the legs keep going and going. That's a fierce conundrum for Clonoulty.
Yes, I watched them. I let the full game against Kiladangan, and they were always chasing Kiladangan. And I know Conor only came on that day late on in the game. They didn't really impress me. Really, they didn't look. I never felt, watching the game, never felt that they were going to threaten Kiladangan. I wasn't at the game during the week there against Monaghan, but just read on the match report that Paul Curran went off after 19 minutes. Now, Paul Curran is a fair fullback no matter what age he is.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, was he a loss to Monaghan that would he have held on if he had played the full hour, you know?
Yeah.
It's a question that we'll never know the answer to now. But fair play to Clonoulty, like, you know, they're a club that had gone through the mill there, as we know, 12 months ago. And they're flying the flag there for West Tipperary, and they're a very strong club and a great club. And so look at, you know, but will they beat Toomevara? I don't think so. I've seen Toom twice this year, and Toom have really upped the ante in their performances. They seem to have a very even and settled team, and things are going well there again. And that on the back of it, they have the under-19 Knock Championship and now in a county final, and they have a new hurling hero,
star in
the making in Darren McCarthy, and I hope that continues for him because he's an absolute gem to Toomevara, and I would be going for Toom in that game.
Yeah, we'll touch on that there shortly, and look, we might touch on the under-19 games as well, but yeah, 16 points. Dara just keeps showing up. So Tomás, come here. Gortnahoe and St Mary's in Premier Intermediate. We had a chat beforehand. St Mary's absolutely steamrolled Gortnahoe in the first half. I was following the game. I was in Clonmel doing another game. I was following this, and I said, "Jeez, this is St Mary's. They're just going to win this handy enough." But to me, to something that I saw with Kilshane, and we'll touch on that later on, did the legs get to Mary's in the second half? Obviously, playing was 2 or 3 nights beforehand. Gortnahoe, obviously, they're a decent team. They're one of the favourites for the county championship. But is it more that Gortnahoe were better than Mary's, or the Mary's lose legs?
It was a bit of both, really. Like Mary's between the football and the hurling, the 3 games in 7 days. Well, like it was 1-11 to 9 at half time, but the opening quarter, the second half was probably where it was won and lost. Like Gortnahoe scored 6 to 2 points. They outscored them, and once they get ahead, they were always there. Now I know the goal was a bit lucky. The long ball came in and it more or less hit Adrian Maher's back, but the one thing I'd be worried about Gortnahoe, like going forward, like Keane Hayes scored 14 of their points, and now he did score 6 from play, but if Keane Hayes is helped or is held, I think Gortnahoe could be in trouble. Like so, but as you said, the legs probably did give way on Mary's at the weekend, and like the football to concentrate on, you know, with commercials, like, but then having said it, another like the match against Toohey the previous Wednesday night, it was a practice match standard, like, so that they were impressive that evening, and the game was won after 10 minutes, even though they were down to 14 men. But look, going out playing 3 games in 7 days wasn't a help, like, but Gortnahoe, look, they've done what had to be done, but they're going to need more going into this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. We'll touch on the Gortnahoe quarter-final there shortly. Just moving on to the intermediate then, Kilshane and Kilcash and Skaheen Rinky. I actually did this game for Clubber at the weekend, and again, it's a carbon copy of Mary's. Kilshane going into this game, big, massive favourites. obviously one of the favourites of the county championship as well. They started off very well, they were 7 or 8 points up, and they were actually 8 points up at half time. Skeenarinky then came back to come within 1 point in the second half, and Kilshane were just dead in their feet, completely dead in their feet. Now Mark Yo got 2-5 again, he got 2-5 against Moneygall. Martin Gibbs was very good, he got club around the match. They only scored, I think it was 4 or 5 points, a goal and 4 or 5 points in the second half. Skeenarinky were very impressive in the second half, but they completely changed their shape and formation. But Kilshane again, it was 3 games in 7 days. This game of the weekend now will be 4 games in 13 or 14 days.
14, yeah.
Again, Kilshane probably should win at the weekend, but again, the difference with Kilshane and Mary's, I think Kilshane's literally, it's the 15, same 15. Mary's have the options of only 5 or 6 hurlers. Kilshane, I think coming down the home stretch now, I think that will cash in for a county championship, but we're going to touch on that there shortly. So look lads, we'll move on to previewing the games of the weekend. So we start with Friday night, Kiladangan Holycross inside the stadium, all 4 games inside the stadium. This is brilliant, obviously for the clubs. Referee John McCormick throw in there. Friday night is at 7:45, so Friday night lights. And it was a great show as well. I don't know if you've seen it. Great show. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. So come here, listen. I'll start with you, Liam. Kiladangan Holycross. Look, on paper, this probably should be a routine win for Kiladangan, but it's county quarter final. Talk me through it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It should be a win for Kiladangan. Just looking at the names on the team sheet, every name on the Kiladangan team just tips off the tongue. Like, and I haven't seen Holycross in a long time playing. There's a lot of good work going on in the underage structure there. Great players coming on, but I think it could be a little bit a step too far from at this stage. You have Cathal Barrett, Ben Hennessy, Darragh Woods, Brian O'Mara, good hurlers. There's a little bit of an addition to this game in that the manager of the Holycross team who played with Kiladangan, Gary Byrne, and the coach is Micheál Ryan, who played with Kiladangan as well. Gary is a former Holycross man himself. No, I'd be very surprised if Kiladangan were beaten in this game. Really would.
Gary was playing junior C for Kiladangan.
He was indeed.
He's still fit as a fiddly is. James, same way, or can we see any shock in the cards here?
Well, look, the way I look at Gary, like Holycross are kind of a team on the up. Do you know, they've great young lads coming through. At underage level, they're a team on the up as well. And they're facing a Kiladangan team. Like, Kiladangan are building nicely. But they are, like, the one thing about Kiladangan, which I found this year, the first half against Borris-Ileigh really kind of brought it back to me that this Kiladangan team, they can let things slip. And they can start poorly. So they're going to have to go into this game from the very, very start, like, you know. They're going to have to hurl from the very, very start. I just had in the notes there that I was doing, like, 1999 is the last time since Holycross were in the quarter final. 1990 is the last time since 33 years ago was the last time Holycross brought Dan Breen home. So, like, there's lovely side stories to this, like with Gary Byrne, but there's always going to be interesting, like with Holycross, you have Darragh Woods, who I think is in absolutely sublime form this year. He's
won 13 against Tipperary last day.
It's the way the scores he's taken. They're not handy scores. No. He's taken these scores on the run from very, very, very acute angles. You have Cathal Barrett who's going to be going up into attack. I don't see Holycross turning around and putting Barrett back into defence. I think they'll leave Cathal up there. They won't change their side. Brian O'Mara will start at centre back. Now here's the question: we're talking about centre backs. Will they leave? Will Darragh Sweeney go out on him, or will Joe Gallagher? Will they leave Brian O'Mara where he is? You know, or will Kiladangan do something different? And something that popped into my head was that maybe Kiladangan might start Willie Connors on him and pull him out of there and pull him around the field. So there's a few different things I was thinking of.
And just on the other side of things, obviously Alan does the sixth role very well for Kiladangan. Will Holycross let him do his own thing, or will they push someone up now? Like they're probably two most interesting things of this game Friday night. Because look, again, I do reckon Kiladangan will win this. Yeah. But who's going to mark Alan Flynn? Who's going to mark Brian O'Mara? Tomás, your thoughts on the two free sixes this Friday night under the lights?
Like Brian O'Mara, like it nearly caught Tipperary the last day, leaving Brian O'Mara, who was recovering it, and the amount of ball that he was clearing again. So I think Kiladangan probably will put somebody on him, like, because you can't leave Brian O'Mara loose. But then, as you said, Alan Flynn on the other side. But look, it's going to be hard to look past Kiladangan. They scored 25 points the last 21 of them came from play, and the 10 different scores. Like, so if you go down through the head, like Billy Seymour scored 7, and 3 of them were from play. And then Sean Hayes, Dan O'Meara and Ty Gallagher all scored 3. Paul Flynn, Brian Malachney, Conor Byrne came off the bench and scored 2. And then Jonathan Horn, Dickie McGrath and Andy Loughnane all scored a point. So they're getting scores from all over the field, and they have lads that are coming in off the bench and scoring as well. Look, apart from that half an hour against Borris-Ileigh, like, they have been very impressive, and they probably let themselves down in the North final, but they were carrying a few injuries that day. But Kiladangan have been impressive over the course of the year. But I can't see Holycross turning them over now. Like, Dara Woods is probably one of the in-form forwards in the country, but then you're expecting other fellas to step up with him as well. But I just think that Kiladangan might just have too much for them.
Yeah, so I think all forwards are going for Kiladangan there Friday night, 7:45 inside the stadium. Saturday, so we have Loughmore against Roscrea inside the stadium. That is at 3:30, and that's live in Clubber as well. The game of Friday night, all these games are live in Clubber. Referees Peter Carroll. Liam, Loughmore, Roscrea. Roscrea obviously have had an unbelievable county championship, very poor North championship, unbelievable county championship, straight up from Premier Intermediate. Been very impressed with them. Will this be a step too far on Saturday against Loughmore?
I'm afraid to say, Loughmore have players on their club team that county teams would dream of, and some of those players of Loughmore haven't yet to wear a senior Tipperary jersey. The only fault that one would have with Loughmore is their defence is tending to concede a lot of high scores. Now, are they playing within themselves? Only time will tell. But Noel McGrath, Ed Connolly, Liam McGrath, John McGrath, there are match winners anytime they go out. Roscrea really came good against Killenaule. The performance surprised me. Delighted to see it. It was great. It was a very welcome win in North Tipperary. A lot of people will recall the great days of Roscrea, produced great games out of the years and great hurlers. Shane Fletcher really produced a great performance that day, and if he like Loughmore, defence will have to keep an eye on him, because he's a goal scorer, and Conor Dooley is a fair man. This is a square two to break it up for him, and Luke Cashel on his day is a free taker sublime. Can have off days, but he's more often than not he has good days. Darren O'Connor, centre back, great warrior, experienced man, and the two Fitzpatricks. Still, I'm going to opt for a lot more on this by 5 or 6 points.
James, Roscrea, in fairness, some big performance against Killenaule. They backed it up big time, I thought, against Toomevara. I thought the performance against Toom was very better than against Killenaule. Obviously, Toom were 3 from 3. Again, will this just be a step too far, probably, in this development for Roscrea? Or could they get Loughmore possibly in an off day? Or again, or what Liam said, are Loughmore holding back within themselves?
Well, very much I think Roscrea are there in merit. 2005 was their last quarter-final appearance. They came up from Premier Intermediate last year. They're there in merit, and I think a lot of the Roscrea team and a lot of the Roscrea background team, they're building a team down there, and they see this as a successful year so far. It'll really have to be a very off day for Loughmore if Roscrea are going to win this. Roscrea would have to keep their wides counting to single figures. That's the number one thing. Luke Cashel will have to nail every single free. And the rub of the green would really have to go their way if they were to edge out Loughmore. But on the balance of things, no, Loughmore are star-studded team. They have bags of experience. They have their attack can score from all angles. They can create chances out of nothing. Defence is a little bit suspect, but I don't think Roscrea have enough to threaten their defence. So on that basis, I go with Loughmore.
Tomás, look, we're obviously McGrath and the usual folk. For me, Ed Connolly has probably been the best player this year. Again, with Loughmore, I think they've been in second and third gear, and this conceding the points, I wouldn't be worried about it at all. I think they're very well within themselves when it comes to this stage of championship. They'll just go on to the next gear. What is your view on this game on Saturday?
Well, like, if you look at Roscrea, the 3 games that they played in the stadium last year, they were a completely different animal. I know, look, Darren Ryan put off a save at the end for the county final to win it, but apart from the last 3 or 4 minutes against Clonoulty, Roscrea were always comfortable, and they were a completely different team in the Munster Championship. They got the 2 games inside the stadium as well, and I think a big open field could suit Roscrea. Like, Nina suited them against Killenaule, and like, you have to remember, they could have easily beaten Toom as well. Like, there was 2 super saves, 3 balls come down off the post. And one of them super saves, the fact of the matter, it just hit Rory Brislance in the face, like, so that could have easily ended up in the net. Like, Roscrea are building something there now at the moment, and like the tradition in that they have, like a town the size of Roscrea should be dining at the top table consistently, and they are building something, and it might come too soon for them at the weekend, but I wouldn't be surprised if Roscrea actually turned them over, because they're ticking it on nicely over the course of the championship. Like, we know the Kiladangan game looked at other things on their mind in that weekend, and that game probably shouldn't have been played in the first place because of what was going on. But if you look at the way they're ticking along there over the course of the championship, they are building something nice, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'd say Roscrea might turn them over.
I think we're all here and pausing here in a silence there for a second.
But sure, we're here to give our opinions. Like.
I'm
here to give our opinions.
I'm not giving
so,
out. No, I wasn't expecting that at all. But
like,
no, come here.
We're here to give our opinions. Like, Roscrea are building something nicely. I see Roscrea, even if they don't get over at the weekend, Roscrea are one of the teams to watch over the next couple of years because of what they're building. Like, they've some great young hurlers coming through as well. So I think Roscrea could easily turn them over. Like, Roscrea are capable of scoring 25 or 30 points, and like Loughmore have conceded consistently high scores. Even they were comfortable against Upperchurch. They let Upperchurch back into the game near a finish. Like, if that was Roscrea could have easily come. Like, so unless Loughmore are 100% at the weekend, I think Roscrea could turn them over.
Okay, that's a 3-1 split there. And in fairness, you're saying about up and coming.
That's not Pochine, is it?
The under 17s, obviously, Tomás lost the 17A semi-final to Borris-Ileigh, who went on to win it there the other night. So look, they have plenty of talent coming through there as well. So look, we'll go on to Sunday. Super Sunday in my eyes. This is an absolute cracking doubleheader, like, of a Sunday afternoon in the middle of September. Like, you can throw your Premier League or your Rugby World Cup out the window. This is going to be unbelievable. At 2 o'clock, we have Toom against Clonoulty. Now, on paper, going through results and everything, lads, Toom should win this game. Just, they're 3 from 3. Clonoulty have been stuttering through the championship. Liam, Clonoulty will have no fear whatsoever, and I think in Clonoulty, they're delighted probably this draw. They have loads of experience. They've been inside the stadium. They have loads of hurlers as well. Toom might be on a wave, but will Toom have enough? Can Clonoulty cause an upset?
Well, as I said, I alluded to it about 10 minutes ago there, and I won't change my mind. I would see Toomevara win this game. I think they have more to offer. They have a fine half-back line there now of Jake Ryan, Josh McCarthy, and Jack Ryan. A fantastic goalkeeper in Rory Brislance.
He's having a great season.
His puckouts he's a super lint in his puckouts when he wants to. Darren Delaney, the experienced Darren Delaney in the middle of the field, is a great help. Jack Delaney is having a great year, and you have Kevin McCarthy and Davy Nolan, who has really stepped up into the plate from what I saw of him this year, and Shane Nolan as well. Then you have Mark McCarthy, and then as the man we mentioned a minute ago, Darren McCarthy, was having a super year. Look at as wholehearted as Clonoulty are, and they are a wholehearted team. They'll always give it their best. I can't see them beating Toomevara. With Ken Dunn on the sideline, Ken Dunn has brought a whole discipline into the team. Like, you know, that you have to put your course to the mast for him on that Toom team, and they're certainly doing it. And even in the under 19, he's involved in under 19 as well. They're a team that conceded 1-3 in the first 5 or 6 minutes against the Cashel, and you'd say, you can pick up the things to go home. But he changed the team. He crowded the middle of the field, left 4 men up in the forward line, and they really won every position from there on.
Okay, so you're going for Toom, and you're confident Toom there. James?
Yeah, look, there's no doubt about it. Like, Toomevara go into this. In my eyes, I haven't looked at Clonoulty, looked at Toomevara. Like, Ken has, it's the first time in 5 years since they've met at this kind of a knockout stage, two teams. But Ken Dunn has really, he's instilled a lot of steel into this team, tactical awareness, tactical nous. He brings an awful lot to he's brought an awful lot to Toomevara this year. Like, I correct me if I'm wrong, but the Toomevara faithful will, but I think there's over 100 training sessions put in so far in Toomevara this year to date. Like, they are really, really, really on point out there. Ken has them taken over lovely. The 19s are going lovely as well. He's involved there as Liam alluded to. But yeah, I think, look, Clonoulty would see this as you said, Gary, as kind of maybe a chance to get to the semi-final with the experience they have. I think it's a tricky one to call. Of the 4 games in the senior, I think it's the one, for me anyway, that I like. Bar you have a surprise in the other games, but I think this one is the hardest to call. This is the closest. But if you're asking me to call it, which you are, Gary, I think I'll edge towards Toom on the basis of the results so far.
Toom, okay. Tomás, are you going for 3 North teams? The first 3 North teams to win?
The difference is I'm not North, so I'm not being biased towards the North clubs. But
you are sometimes. We won't get into that tonight.
But look, like Toom, like Mark McCarthy and Darren McCarthy, them taking all the plaudits. But what you forget is the likes of Sean Thurles coming off the bench. He scored 3 points the last day, and Toom have lads. Joey Malachney has been coming on the last 10 or 12
just
minutes.
on Joey, make a point there. Like, he's only coming on for a minute or two, but I think the fact that even Joey's just around the squad when they train probably Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, or Thursday, whenever, having a lad like that around the squad, like we know from playing yourself, just that extra bit of steel about teams as well. So having Joey and even Darren Delaney there as well is a massive plus for Toom.
Yeah, like as I said, like bringing on the likes of him and that now, like what you forget about Clonoulty were in the group of death, like, so, and Borris-Ileigh obviously didn't come out of that group either. Like, Clonoulty done what they had to do in the West, and look, Kiladangan and Sarsfields, like, but they've scored 129 from playing the last 2 games, like, and like Conor Hammersley had been back. Robert Dial has scored 6 points the last 2 games. Stephen Ferncombe has chipped in with 4. Danny Slattery, like, I remember talking to Declan Ryan when they played Anacarty. I interviewed him after the game, and everybody would have mentioned Robert Dial being full back and Danny Slattery being corner back on the Tipp 20s this year. And when I was given the team sheet the evening before, I couldn't believe that them 2 lads were up in the forwards, but they are exceptional. And now, probably one of the clashes of the weekend is worth seeing Robert Dial and the Loch Ryan coming up against each other, because you want anything you get from the Loch, you'll earn it, like, but like the supply of ball that's been going into Robert Dial, and he's winning ball too, he's winning dirty ball as well. Maybe that's the experience of playing in the full back line, but like Clonoulty, look, they're there and people are writing them off. They'll be on what happened in the round robin, but like as I said, it was the group of death, like, so I wouldn't be surprised. Like Toom are going to be favourites for it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Clonoulty do manage to get over the line. Like, there won't be a whole pile in this game. Like, I think the bookies have it completely wrong. Like, I think Toom are like 4 or 5 to 1 on. Like, but I can't see any more than 2 or 3 points being in this game.
And Tomás, you still haven't told us who.
I go for Clonoulty. I go against the North now.
Against the North. So it's a 3-1 split there again. But no, listen, I understand people are writing Clonoulty off. I won't be writing them off and just going on the form lines this year. I think I'd be going for Toom here as well. I think they're building nicely, and I said at the start of the year, I don't think Toom will win a county. I still don't think they will win a county this year, but I really, really like this Toom team. I think the next 3 or 4 years, they will definitely
like Toom are probably back, Gary. Like, they are going to win one in the next couple of years.
That's what I'm saying, because they have.
But like Clonoulty have great players coming through too. Like,
no, I know that.
I think look, to be honest with you, I think the rest of the county probably disrespect the West Championship because there's only one senior club there, but like that's not Clonoulty's fault either. Like, so, and I think that Clonoulty they've put it up to every team in the county over the last couple of years, and it's only a couple of years ago when they managed to win a county. Like, so I wouldn't be surprised. I think Clonoulty could turn over Toom at the weekend. It's
the one game that, like you would, as I was saying there, it is on a night. like the bookies do have it wrong in this one. I think you cannot have Clonoulty at that.
Tis the thing, if you were having, I won't be touching this game at all to the end. I just go for 2-1 form line, but again,
could be a fella from Clonoulty working for Paddy Power.
Could be.
Yeah, I just think that Gary, that a number of things factor how a team does in senior championship over a consistent level, and that is winning underage titles, and one is not enough. You want to win 3 or 4 in a 6 or 7 year period. Sometimes it doesn't always work.
It doesn't guarantee success.
It doesn't guarantee.
See that with McCarthy.
It is. Any team, there's very few teams winning county titles and go and staying there consistently over a 9 or 10 year period without the underage titles to back them up the few years previous.
And just on the Western side, I don't think the county, I wouldn't say anyone was disrespecting the West, but like when you only have one team in the West, it's hard to, I suppose, give the West Championship as much, I suppose, I would say word respect, but
credence.
Exactly. And no, again, it's not Clonoulty's fault at all. It's up to the likes of Cashel and the rest of them to pull their socks up and get back up to senior. But
population, Gary, is the problem.
Oh, 100%.
Or lack of it. It's a numbers game, and
100%,
I can see West Tipperary are suffering, and I can see Lower Ormond down there
are suffering as well.
Lower Borris-Ileigh and the Rovers are going to be hard set. Even the power team of 15 within the Treven in about 3 or 4 years' time.
That's something for another night that we could probably spend a full hour on, if not more. So look, going on to the last game of the senior to weekend, Drom against Sars. The game of the weekend, without a doubt. Michael Kennedy's the ref there. Throw in is at 3:45. Look, Sars obviously on the back of beating Nina. Drom on the back of a very disappointing, brutally disappointing performance against Brackens. For me, it was a chance for them to put their stamp on the ground and say, lads, right, we are here this year for Dan Breen. It's a nice young team blended with Johnny Ryan and Shamey there as well. I think this will be a routine win for Thurles. I think it's probably coming too soon for Drom. I think for me they had a chance to put the stamp against Brackens and they didn't. I'm going for Thurles team. What is your opinion?
Thurles, the match against Kiladangan and the last 20 minutes against Nina last week, that's what I saw of Thurles, and from what I see, they're all good hurlers. Whatever it is in the water down in Thurles, their hurling is sublime. Their touch is always good, and Drom have at times flattered to deceive, and I think this is going to be another game where they just won't be good enough to be top of Thurles.
Yeah, and look, Drom for me, they're easily top 5, top 6 maybe team in the county, but again, I don't think they kicked on again this year enough for them to turn over Thurles just yet. But again, they have a nice young team as well. James, Thurles, Drom.
Thurles, I think, look, based on what I saw against Nina, Thurles, but I've seen Drom in action as well. Drom will really have to bring their A game in order to have a chance against Thurles. Thurles Stars have had an Indian sign over Drom for a long time, and Judge, I mean, I do feel like that 11-point loss to JK Brackens, like when they had a chance to put a marker down, maybe they were just sitting back, but like Judge, I mean, you really want to be going to win every single game in the championship. This Drom will bring a challenge. There's no doubt in that. Like looking at the players that have Shamey there will lead them. Like they will bring a serious challenge. But whether they have enough to topple Sars in the stadium, I just don't think so. I'm just looking at my notes there on it. Do you know what I mean? The one thing that that Drom defence I think is suspect under high ball as well. Okay. That inside back, then I think from what I've seen, Drom will really have to. Everything will have to go right for Drom on the day to cause an upset in the championship.
Yeah, and I think it's probably fair to say at this point Thurles have probably gone into favours for the county championship at this stage after the last couple of performances. Tomás, again, look, not hitting Drom so hard, they're also playing senior football, and basically it's the exact same 20 that they use for hurling and football. Yeah. So you can maybe give them a bit of lenience against Brackens, but again, that Brackens performance, is that going to topple them here against Sarsfields?
No, well, the only thing about it is like they were guaranteed to be top in the group. Like I know, look, they won't be happy with that performance. They've had 3 weeks now to try and rectify what went wrong there. But if they are going to win it or try and put up the Sars at all, like Sars are my favourites to win the county, and they have been since the start of the year. But if they are going to put up to them, like they need to put maybe. The likes of Jamie Maloney or Larkin Campion sitting on Ronan. They need to, because Shamey's going to be inside the full forward line, Ronan is going to be on the D trying to block that supply off. So they need somebody sitting on top of Ronan Maher to like to stop his influence out the game. Like, but like the likes of Johnny Ryan, Springer is still knocking around and that there, and the Campions have been hurling fierce well. And like Tommy Nolan he's probably in the form that he was showing back in 18-19 when he was involved with the Tipp 20s. Remember, he got that goal in the All Ireland and that. But he's in great form now at the moment, and they will need a full hour. But like Sars, like Billy McCarthy is back in some serious form, and like the form Dennis Maher has been showing, like Dennis Maher is probably 32, I think now at this stage, and he's back full back. I'd say the only place that he's never played in is probably in goal, and people are always saying, where's Dennis Maher? Like, he's 32 years of age now and he's in another new position, but his form has been unbelievable. But the likes of Dara Stakelum, Connor Stakelum, and these coming through, but like Owen Purcell came off the bench last week and scored 3 points from play, and when Shawnee Butler was after getting injured, like Shawnee Butler, you have to remember, starting on the Premier Intermediates, and he was only brought in during the round robin. But I think Sars will probably have too much for him. I'd say a 5 or 6 point victory for Sars.
Right, so 4 of us are in agreement there for Thurles Sarsfields. So that's the 4 senior games wrapped up. So look, all 4 senior games will be on Clubber this weekend. And again, thanks very much to Keane MacDonald from Gold Standard Physio. Keane's actually sponsoring the Man of the Match awards there, so he'll be with the interviewer with the Man of the Match after the game. So well done to Keane for sponsoring those. Right, moving on to the Premier Intermediate. Saturday we have Laura against Clonoulty at 3 o'clock inside Nina. John Dooley is the ref. Look, again, no disrespect, I think this should be a fairly routine for who will win the county championship. Laura, Liam, can Clonoulty cause a shock, or their performance last day against Burgess was just so poor? Is going to be a shock in the cards here?
No, to be short and sweet about it. No. Now, having said that, Clonakilty are a team I always admire. They really punch above their level. They always produce a very attractive type of hurling, all pacey and all that. They have some good hurlers. They have the Ryan brothers. They're Bobby Bergen, and you have Willie Ryan as well, who's no brother. He's not a brother to the two boys, John Joe and Dermot, and you have Keane the wire up front, and hopefully for them that he's back to full fitness. I saw him against Silvermines. He struggled there in the second round, and Clonakilty that they had that game in their grasp, and they left Silvermines hanging onto their coattails, but still pulled away towards the finish. Look at Laura have a forward line, and best forward line in the Premier Intermediate Championship at the moment, without a doubt. Probably a forward line that many senior team would like to have as well, and they're on an upward curve there. They were demoted a few years ago, so it would be a hard luck, injuries and things like that. Just things didn't go their way. Reached the final the year before and could have won it. And the second year yip, as I call it, it really can catch a team out, and players don't seem to put in the same effort in 2 years running, and then they realise we have to do something about it. And Laura certainly did something about winning the Intermediate Championship last year in style. Only one game they were really troubled, and that was against Borris-Ileigh in the quarter final. Yeah. But they got over that, and they won comprehensively in the county final against Moneygall. And I've seen them in the North Championship this year, and they have impressed me. Slow to get off the ground against Burgess in that North final, but once they turned on the style in the second half, there was only one team in it. Yeah. And I expect them to go win this game.
Fair enough. Thanks very much, Liam. And James, again, should be routine enough for Laura?
Well, look, they're two teams that aren't familiar with each other. The last met in 2019 in the Division 2 league final. So they're two teams that are not used to playing against each other, or they wouldn't have ever felt each other out. Like, do you know what I mean? They wouldn't come across each other a lot. Clonakilty, in my opinion, I've seen them a couple of times this year. Clonakilty have some lovely hurlers, like, John Joe Ryan has impressed me. Bobby Bergen has really impressed me this year. Keena Dwyer has been well able to pick off the scores as well. And they have hurlers. They also have spirit. Clonakilty have spirit, and like for a club the size of Clonakilty, they'll put it up to Laura. I wouldn't be of the opinion that Laura will walk away or run away with this game. Clonakilty, if they come out with a little bit of fire in their bellies, which I'm sure they will, they'll put it up to Laura. But Ken Hogan has Laura taking over lovely. They have three games on the bounce. You can't beat winning. No, you can't beat it. So like on paper when you look at it, I'd have to go for Laura, but Clonakilfeacle are fully capable of pulling off a surprise of surprises.
Tomás, surprises. Are you going to surprise us?
Look, Liam mentioned about Group 3 and Clonakilfeacle's group a few weeks back about Jekyll and Hyde, and look, that's what you get on Clonakilfeacle. Being from Clonakilfeacle, and you write Clonakilfeacle off so many times, but then you blow them up as well, and when you're expecting them to do something, they don't. And when they're written off, they come out and do it. But like a few lads just went missing the last day. There's no point in saying anything different. Like when they were needed, they just disappeared. Like, and there was no fighting them against Burgess. Like it was severely disappointing coming out after that game. But like Laura have been the favourites since the start of the year, no doubt about it. Like the form that Bonner is in is unbelievable. Like so, but like Clonakilfeacle could win this by 3 or 4 points, or they could be beaten by 10. It's as simple as that. Because I'm not going to give a prediction on this because you don't know what to expect on Clonakilfeacle, and that's being truthful about it. And like speaking to some of them as well, and I know, look, some of them don't like their egos being rubbed on that and now and being upset. But the fact of the matter is, you can't depend on them. So I'm not going to willing to predict this game. Like, well, I'm going to call a spade. Like, you just can't depend on them. Like, well, Laura could easily beat them by 10 or 15 points. Clonakilfeacle could win it by 3 or 4 points. So it's one of them games you just can't expect.
You're firmly sitting on the fence in this one.
I am, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. So we're going to three Laura wins there, and I know I completely get where you're coming from, Tomás. I do think this will be fairly routine for Laura. They had a scare against Port, but look, they got over that. Burgess Thurles again. Look, on form, Burgess should win this. If Stephen Murray's back fit and the hamstring is fine, I think this is a I wouldn't say fairly handy win, but it will be a routine win for Burgess. Thurles against Tracy's the last day, Liam. Look, they were 6 points up. It was a comfortable 6 points. They pulled away in the last few minutes, but they only won by 3 in the end. And is beating Tracy's by 3 points enough of a form line to beat Burgess, who are 3 from 3?
Not based on how Tracy's have performed this year, which hasn't been exactly wonderful, and they're in a relegation battle now as a result. Burgess, for me, will be the winners of this game. They have been playing well all through from the North Championship and the County Championship. The only drawback about Burgess, they tend to relax in the last quarter of an hour. I've seen games where they've been hanging on by a thread, games they had well wrapped up and just survived, had done enough obviously to survive. Donna Maher is having a great year with Burgess up front. They have, and the thing about Burgess, a different player can be the match winner on different days.
And that's the first time I've noticed a Burgess this year. It's all about Stephen, but this year Stephen Kerwin is John. Kieran Grace the last day against Clonakilfeacle was amazing. Now Danny Ryan got man of the match for Clubber man of the match.
But there's more and more stepping up.
Oh, Johnny McQueen this year. Johnny's like an 18-year-old all over again. He's in great condition. He's hurling unbelievable. James, you agree with Liam? Will this be a Burgess win?
I would think so. Yeah. Look, Burgess are 2 steps away from where they were in 2018 in a final.
And I think they're hurling better than they were 2 years ago.
I have to agree. I think they're hurling better, and I think this Burgess team are capable of getting to the final. They are capable, depending on the draw, but they are capable of getting to the final. Look, SARS, it's 4 in a row quarterfinals for SARS, you know, and look, while they're training with the first team, that brings with a huge bonus for them as well, and a huge impetus for them. Michael Cahill is there at centre back for them, like, and he will guide that team, but whether they have enough firepower as a second team to overcome Burgess, I really don't think so. I think Burgess, Murray's after getting a rest, Stephen's after getting a rest, so Stephen Murray will bring his usual, what he brings to every experience, accuracy from frees, and he's gold dust. He's gold dust for Burgess. But there's, as you said, there's a lot more stepping up. Like Donamara has done very well in attack this year, and Donna's it's a talisman. But you have Michael Kerwin there as well. You have Danny Ryan. They're all starting, and even the subs bench, young Cooney coming on.
Very good.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they're starting to really gel, and I think if they win this, if they beat SARS, which I think they will beat SARS, it's in Borris-Ileigh on Saturday 3 o'clock. I think if they do beat SARS, Genie, when they get into a semi-final, they're not far away.
No, they're not.
And you must remember they were beaten in the semi-final actually by Roscrea.
Yeah.
To win it.
Exactly. Tomás, will there be shock in the cards here, or this will be a victory for Burgess?
No, like Burgess probably second favourites in my opinion for the county, like, because like a lot of people are talking about Laura and Killenaule, but Burgess have been impressive all year. As James said there, the only thing you'd be worrying about is when they do get comfortable with 15-20 minutes to go and they're letting clubs back or teams back into it. But they have been hugely impressive all year, and whether Stephen Murray is fit or not, but like Stephen Murray always gets the attention, but Stephen Corwin is the main player for me, because like the form he's been showing for the last 2 or 3 years is unbelievable. Like, so I think that if Stephen Corwin and Owen Hogan them start winning ball the way they're capable in the half-hour line, and supplying ball and putting balls over the bar, which we're capable of doing. Like Sars didn't impress me at all against Sean Tracy's. I thought it was a very poor standard game of hurling, but I can't see Sars overturning Burgess in this one. No.
So before going for Burgess there, and don't forget obviously Lahey Hogan and Bill Flapp, 2 big men winning the big ball at Burgess. Well, moving on to Sunday, so the Swans against Killenaule, like this is a South battle for the ages. Like these two clubs obviously have put up some serious games in the South Championship the last couple of years. Killenaule obviously one of the favourites for the county championship. They drew with Gorton Hood last day. Swans have had pretty a good county championship compared to the last couple of years. Liam, should this be a Killenaule win?
You should, I don't know enough about Swan except going on tradition, and they do find it hard to come out and win games. They did when they were a senior team, and now they haven't really done it since it dropped down to Premier Intermediate. Killenaule, I look like a team that finally getting their act together again, and like we spoke about Ken Dunn a few minutes ago, bringing Toomevara along, and I'd say there's none better than Declan Fanning over the team, and I said no nonsense there with that man at all. He's a winner. He was a winner with Tipperary. John Bubbles the Wire is yet to come back to the team, and they have some fantastic players like Porrick and Killenaule the Wire, and Dean O'Connor, Owen Barry, Tom Stakelin. Tom Stakelin really impressed me at full forward that first day against Porto. Okay, you can say Porto were poor, but Toom or Killenaule made a statement that day. And we have to also mention that the Killenaule group was the toughest group of the four. I felt with Laura and Gorton Hood there, and 3 teams now out of that group in the quarterfinals, and maybe 3 teams that could be in the semi-finals. Yes, before we'll know before Sunday evening is out. Killenaule for me would be the winners. Going on what I see with Killenaule, I'll take a fair team debate. Swan really have to get their best debate.
Yeah, and just on that, James, look, I'd be in Killenaule camp as well. Same squad as it is for the football. They were so impressed with the football too. He's going to lead the game. They just lit up the place. Bubbles, from what I've heard, he won't be there for that game, or he won't be there for semi-final, and if they get to the final, they'll be very lucky to have him. I'm not sure what the injury is, but should Killenaule get over Swans? I know this will be a tight game, but should Killenaule have too much?
Like going into it, Swans would want to atone for the South final last, like, you know. But on that day, I remember the sports ground there, like when you were looking at it, the actual the AstroTurf goal mouths did cause a bit of a problem down there, like, you know. And there was one of the goals that went in, it took a hop. But for Swans, Swans would have to have everything would have to go Swans' way. Like Carrick Swans are capable of anything, like, you know. But they everything will have to go the way Declan Fanning has Killenaule taking over. They're really taking over lovely. So they're even better than I think than they were earlier on in the championship. Yeah. So on that basis, and Liam has alluded to all the stars that they have, like, the lads that are really starting to step up at the moment. The football is helping them on massive. For me, Killenaule by 3 or 4 points, I think.
3 or 4 points. Tomás, can the Swans go against the grain here?
They could, yeah. Like, what you forget is it's a local derby. Like, the two of them know each other very well, and like, the Swans have Kevin Lanigan, who's a huge experience centre back, like Gavin O'Halloran, and Danny O'Hanlon is actually still hurling with them as well. Like, he was a huge prospect there. Like, going back, like, he's could be 37 or 8 now at this stage now, but still having the likes of them there, like, Swans will put it up to him. Like, make no mistake about it. Like Liam mentioned about Tom Stakelin, I was impressed with Tom Stakelin. Now, the last couple of days I've seen him in full forward. And they have Darragh Fitzgerald is another one to be looking out for, and Paddy Featon, Tipperary senior footballer. Like Paudie's a super hurler, and so is Jimmy, his brother.
Yeah,
Like
that's
so,
good, yeah.
the two of them. But Killenaule should get over the line, but don't be surprised if Swans do overturn them. The fact that it's a local derby, that you don't know what to expect from either one of them, but Killenaule slightly.
So 4 Killenaules there for us here. And then look, for me, this is the game of the weekend, the Premier Intermediate. Cashel against Gortnahoe. Cashel flying flag there in the west. Gortnahoe obviously getting a draw against Killenaule the last day. I fancy Cashel here. I think Gortnahoe probably flattered to receive so far in the championship. And again, the whole Keane Hayes factor. I think whole Keane. It's not even whole Keane from play. Keane can go off and score his 4 or 5 points. Just hold Gortnahoe to freeze him, I think. I think Cashel, I think they've got their act together.
Yeah, Cashel, the last time I saw Cashel playing was in the quarter final last year against Borris, and they must have went away very disappointed. They didn't turn up at all in the second half, and the concession of freeze cost of that day, I mean, it was a magical day for Stephen what's his name?
Murray.
Murray for Borris.
Stephen Murray, yeah.
I mean, to score 228 in a game is unbelievable. And again, last weekend against Toomevara, they had the game, a great start, but they conceded so many frees. It had Toom come back into the game. So that is a factor. They have to be patient. And will they be patient on Sunday? Well, who knows? They have good hurlers. There's no doubt about Owen Connolly there, and some good young lads, and Anthony Walsh there, and Ronan Connolly, great stickmen. Have they enough to beat Gortnahoe? I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I think Gortnahoe were good last year, and they haven't disappointed anyone this year either so far. So I was sticking with them.
Okay, we're going for Gortnahoe. James?
I again, like Clonoulty, this is the game in the Premier Intermediate that I feel that is kind of very little in this. Very little in it. Look, Cashel, I think it'll come down to discipline. I really think this game will come down to discipline. Cashel have been building lovely, and the last time I saw them, do you know what I mean? James Cummins has really come on, really impressed me in that second half. Like Ger Brown, of course, they're like the thing that I think Ollie Moore isn't afraid to make decisions on this Cashel team. He brought off Ger Brown the last day. Yeah. And like you could hear the crowd were kind of going, "Jeez, if this goes wrong, if this goes wrong, this is Ollie could be in bother." Do you know? Yeah. When it comes down to, but it didn't go wrong, and the sub that he brought on subsequently got the point. So they are a team that I think, number one, there's a strong management team there, and they're willing to make crucial calls at crucial stages in games. The thing is, if Cashel keep their discipline and are disciplined against Gortnahoe, I think they'll overturn Gortnahoe. Yeah. Not by much. It's a very, very tight game. Like you're calling out the finalists from last year, and you're saying basically that the finalists from last year are going to be beaten by a team that were knocked out last year at an earlier stage. So it's a big call to say Cashel will overcome them. Gortnahoe come through the preliminary round, reliable defence there, as Liam alluded to there, hurling well, have done nothing really to kind of say that, oh no, they should be beaten. But I think Cashel will beat them.
Okay. Right, that's
very slenderly, but I do think
if they're disciplined too, you're going to have to ask yourself, where are the scores going to come from for Gortnahoe, because the majority of their scores are coming from frees. Now you can say that players getting into them positions and being fouled, but they're going to have Cashel are going to have to be disciplined from the full forward line back, because like Keane Hayes can come and hit the ball 90, 100 yards and put it over the bar, but like Damien Corbett, he started off on fire against Lura and the ball just stopped going into him. He was taken off against Portrush the second day and didn't start against Killenaule. He was only brought on there last weekend, so Gortnahoe are going to have to try and get the likes of Damien Corbett back into form as well. But what you must also remember, David Nolan went off injured, their captain, and he's their main player in the back line. And he bursts out with balls the whole time. And if he's not fit to start, Gortnahoe are in big trouble.
Yeah. So who are you calling, Tomás?
I'd say Cashel.
Cashel, 3-1 split there for Cashel. And I just think, in a Cashel point of view, I think since the 12 Apostle Gate inside Holycross, I think they've got their act together. I've seen a different side to Cashel this year compared to the last couple of years. I think that gel and bond is finally getting there. And look, having 3 lads sent off in a game, if that doesn't give you a kick up the backside, nothing really will. And as you say, James, I think
I think the management team, like to make a call like that was a huge call.
Yeah.
But the call was made.
Yeah.
And it worked. And I think like the backroom team showed a lot of cojones there.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Let's be honest,
It was to show though that none of them are safe either. Like,
none of them
doesn't matter who you are,
safe,
like,
yeah.
so
And that can galvanise the team.
If you're not putting it in, like, you're not going to be playing, and you're not going to be left there, like, so.
Yeah.
You see too many clubs doing it, like, so.
No, exactly, yeah. So a 3-1 split there, Cashel and Clonoulty. So look, we'll move on really quickly there to the relegation semi-finals. We'll just touch on them really briefly, kind of call for time. Tracy's in Portrush and Moyne Temple, Toohey and Newport. Look, for me, I think Portrush will have too much against Tracy's. Again, a club batting above, I suppose, like Clonkenny in that sense, but I think Portrush will have too much, and Moyne Temple, Toohey and Newport. Like, Temple Toohey did it right for me against Mary's, was just, I couldn't believe the performance from Moyne Temple Toohey. It was so poor. Newport, I hadn't probably heard this bad in I don't know how many years, but for me, I think it'll be 2 North wins with Portrush and Newport. How do you see those two games?
That's what I went with when I did the previews during the week. Portrush have enough of spirit to make money out of dog, and always have down to the years. I know they're missing Rowan and AJ, Rowan Mulrooney and AJ Willis, but I thought their performance, looking at their scoreline against Clonoulty, was encouraging from a Portrush point of view. I didn't expect it because of they're down so many soldiers. Portrush to win that game, Newport to beat Moyne Temple Toohey. Look at they have been not performing as much as they would like to be performing. They've never been the striding games either at the same time.
Yeah, no.
And looking at Moyne Temple Toohey against the Mines or against Ballina, you know, they depended so much on Gerard O'Connor, like he was immaculate from frees, but there was nothing else coming that showed any potential of danger in the Moyne team, and so like Newport and Portrush and the Tipperary Championships Championship will be safe for
another year. James, who would you call these 2 games?
I'd go with Newport and Portrush as well. I'd be very cautionary though about Tracy's.
Okay.
Tracy's are a dogged team. Tracy's, I've seen Moyne Temple Toohey, and Moyne Temple Toohey have disappointed me this year.
Yeah.
They have been disappointed. I think they know that themselves. But Tracy's are just, they're dogged. Like Portrush are not at full strength and full tilt, and they haven't been winning, of course. Do you know what I mean? So like, there is a chance of a tiny chance. There's not a tiny chance. There's a good chance of an upset.
And you know what? Something we probably completely alluded to there. For all these games, the weather at the weekend isn't meant to be great either, so it's meant to be a good bit of rain.
The weather will be great leveler this weekend.
Yeah, it could be great level. Listen, Tomás, can Tracy's look? I think Newport will be Temple Toohey. Not handy enough, but I think they'll wake up. For me, I do go for Portrush, but I don't think it'll be, I suppose, as comfortable as most people would think. Can the Tracy's cause an upset against Portrush?
On their performance the last day, no, I wouldn't think so. On the other
but just on that, we're talking about Thurles was
like you'd always expect fight. The 4 teams are in a dog fight now. The one thing you always expect of the likes of Moyne Temple Toohey is fight and hard. Last week they played above in Clonoulty. It was like they didn't want to be there. We watched the warm up. There was no intensity. There was, like, the fact of the matter is, if Ty Sheehan wasn't sent off, they would have been bet by another 10 points. Like, including injury time, they gave 66 minutes playing against 14 men, and they were completely out-muscled, out-dominated, and that was one thing that disappointed me about Moyne Temple Toohey, and I've never seen him without a bit of heart. So if there's anything about him, like, if they don't do it this weekend, they'll get another chance. But out of the 4, I think that Newport and Portrush will win and I think Sean Tracy's will beat Moyne Temple Toohey in a final, because I've been so disappointed with Moyne Temple Toohey this year.
Fair enough. No, that's a fair call now.
Yeah.
Look, that's the Premier Intermediate wrapped up, and again, most of those games will be on Clubber this weekend. So keep an eye on Clubber socials over the next day or two for the full schedule this weekend. Now we move on to the Intermediate. We've only got 5 minutes left to go, so we'll move on to Intermediate. And for me, this is the game of the weekend in the Intermediate. I'm delighted I'm actually getting covered. Borris-Ileigh against Moneygall. Now for me, I did Moneygall against Kilshane last Tuesday night in Temple Toohey. Absolute cracking game, one of the games of the year. This for me, Moneygall should win this game. On paper, you will win this game. But Liam, is this a chance for redemption now for Borris-Ileigh for that North final? They've obviously gone through their group fairly handy. They've upped it another gear. They're scoring left, right, and centre. Gary Ryan, I think he's got 2-12 or 2-13 from playing 3 games. Philly Austin's back to form. Will Moneygall win, or can Borris-Ileigh cause an upset?
Well, I'm going to go straight away for Moneygall to win this, but if any team, when they're down, they really can produce the form that they really can produce a game and maybe go a long way at causing a shock. But I'm unfortunately for Borris-Ileigh, I can't see him win this one. It will be a close enough game. I know that for a fact. Their North final performance was very poor. Moneygall really took him to the cleaners, and the first 20 minutes, that was the win of the game for him. And it was only a matter of how much they were going to win it after that. Borris-Ileigh picked up a small bit in the second half. Moneygall for me, Sean Kennedy and Joe Forty are 2 class intermediate hurlers. There'll be good hurlers in a senior team, and mine an intermediate team, and they have the wherewithal to do enough of this. Don't be a bit surprised if it was a close game now. Yeah. It wouldn't be one bit surprised.
That's why I'm so looking forward to it, because I don't think it will be the score difference it was in our final.
They have enough to win this Moneygall.
Fair enough. James, quick synopsis of this.
Look, Borris-Ileigh are going into this hoping to atone for what was a dismal North final performance. And regardless of what anyone says, Borris-Ileigh came away from that game extremely disappointed with their performance, extremely disappointed with how things panned out on the day. And I went for Borris-Ileigh on that, going into that game. Moneygall, very impressive the other evening against Kilshane. I watched that game at Dublin. Very impressive against Kilshane.
And forget Moneygall, they were down 4 starters.
And they were down 4 starters. Mark you a depleted Moneygall side going into that game. So, there's just something, I just don't... This game is going to be tighter than people think.
I think you're going against the great hair,
I think I'm here on the fence, but I don't want to get splinters. So I'm going to get off the fence.
Go on.
I think I'm going to edge a surprise here. This is my surprise of the weekend, and maybe I'm totally wrong on it.
So
I think Borris-Ileigh could do this.
Well, you won't be welcoming Ollie Hazes for a long time.
No, I won't.
Tomás, will you be loud in Ollie Hazes?
Well, the thing about it is, Borris-Ileigh, look, call a spade a spade. They showed Moneygall too much respect in the North final. They were more worried about the opposition than themselves. And Borris-Ileigh don't know where they actually are at the minute, because their growth was so poor that they won them 3 games handy, but there was no opposition for them. So people are saying Borris-Ileigh are back and they're showing form. You can't read into anything that they played in them 3 games. I covered one of the games, and I covered 2 of them, but one of the games I had to ask a team 15 minutes beforehand for their starting team. They didn't even know who they'd have. You wouldn't see that in Junior B. So that group that they had. But what you must also remember, Borris-Ileigh should have beaten Lurry last year. People forget that.
Yeah.
And there could be a kick in Borris-Ileigh, but
that's what I'm thinking.
I was thinking about this during the week. I said Borris-Ileigh should have beaten Lurry. But
sleepless nights over this during the week.
The fact that, I know me hurling, Gary, I'm not bluffing.
Oh, there we go. That's a fair statement there now.
Shots fired.
But no, I'm not being biased towards Moneygall, but the fact of the matter is, there's always a kick in Borris-Ileigh. So, but on paper, you'd have to say Moneygall. But look, the last time I went against Moneygall, half of Moneygall got offended. And just out of spite, I'd say Borris-Ileigh will win this weekend.
Grand Tomás, actually, always good for the crack, and so 2-2. But again, this lads is all joking aside. This is the game of the weekend, intermediate wise. It's an absolute cracking game. The favourites for the county final more than likely up against, we say, the pretenders who are looking for redemption. This could be a class game. I can't wait for it. It's at 1:30 inside Nina. Look, Drom against Golden. Drum's second team. They had 2 draws and they won in the last day. Golden probably punching above what they have there at the moment. Look, for me, Liam, I think this will be a fairly routine win for Drum. Obviously, the same group of lads that play with the senior hurlers, senior footballers. They have a lot of senior footballers playing here. Is this a Drum win?
Yeah, I have to say now. Look, I haven't seen either team playing, but going on the news that not the change in the rule on sports score difference got Golden over the line. They have struggled for a good number of years now to get into the top, go to the top table. 2 teams, Drum and Inch, I suppose, when you have a second team, I suppose you don't have the best players that you want for that team. But they have always done fairly decent enough down through the years.
Yep.
Drom have, and I think I'll give them the nod on that one.
James, Drom or Golden?
I go Drom on this one. Look, Golden have one win. Golden-Kilfeacle got in, and just as Liam said, on the basis of score difference there, I don't think it'll have enough for a Drom team that have are experienced. A lot of good heads in that team, a lot of experienced heads in that team. I think Drom have too much for me at Drom.
Tomás, Lucas was.
What you're forgetting about too is the Golden have two of the best young forwards in the county, and Ben Curry and Jack Leamy, and the two of them will have to be watched. Like, so Drum are after losing a few players, a few of their top players to the seniors. So there might be a whole pile in this. Drum will be expected to win, but Golden will put it up to them.
Where are you going with your prediction?
Well, I'll go with Drum, but look, I'd say like Golden will put it up. It's not going to be a foregone conclusion that some people are thinking.
Yeah, but no, obviously, it's a great point. Obviously, with Jack Leamy, so we saw he did Tipp 20 this year, an absolute class act.
Like Ben Curran is going to be the next big thing in Tipp, like, so you see what he done in Harty over the last couple of years as well.
No, it's a fair point. Look, I don't think it will be a handy win for Drum, but I just think that experience being a quarter-final last year, and look, obviously being with senior hurlers and footballers, I think that bit of experience will get them over the line. Cap White, Kilshane, for me, like, I did Kilshane last Sunday, completely ran out with legs, rightly so, 3 games in 7 days. This will be 4 games in 13 days. Cap White, up and coming, nice young team. Tomás, you've seen a bit of Cap White this year, and you've seen Kilshane as well. Kilshane, obviously, we all know who they have. They got the 2 Kyo's. Martin Gibbs has been unbelievable from this year. But I think, look, if Kilshane are fresh and at it, I think this will be a routine win for him. But I feel an upset here in the cards this weekend. I just saw a different Kilshane in the second half against Rinky, completely legless, and I mean that in the most respectful way. Can this be? Can Cap White continue to really good 23 and cause an upset?
Yeah, and what, like, Kilshane probably, look, they should have beaten Moneygall. Like, they had that game in their grasp with 3 or 4 minutes to go, and they let it slip, and like, they've nobody to blame that they had to go and play the following Sunday, only themselves. If you look at Cap White, like Rian Dooley, part of the Tipp 20s a couple of years ago, great player. Darren McCarthy is in unbelievable form. Like, he scored 3-7 from playing the West Final. People forget that, like, and the supply ball going into the likes of him. David Buckley at centre forward as well, and captain of the team, driving them on. And I think Cap White can overturn. Cap White have a good up and coming teams. They've been amalgamated with Solihull and that underage, and they've been contesting finals, winning a couple of finals. I know Liam said about winning counties and that, but once you're getting there and you're pulling 2 or 3 players maybe every year or every second year, you're always going to be in a position. And I think the legs might give way on Kilshane, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cap White win this now. I go for Cap White in this game.
Yeah, 4 games in 13 days, and again, I wouldn't be surprised if Kilshane win, but again, it'll be a hell of a lot to ask for. Look, Liam, Cap White, Kilshane, probably one of the 3 favourites for the county. What do you think this weekend?
Well, I witnessed that group, the rowers involved in that group with Kilshane and Borris-Ileigh and Moneygall. And the strange thing about it is the rowers should have beat Moneygall in the first round of the championship. They had to beat them in the Tipp. They were poor, finished poorly against Kilshane, and the Kehoe brothers absolutely took them to town, and young Stokes there, centre back, had a fantastic game. Another game where, as a centre back, he was allowed a free role and no one take him on. I felt that Borris-Ileigh were playing well within themselves. They really only turned on the style in the last 10 minutes and pulled away from the Rovers. That the 2 additions, the 2 Dwyers, they're a source of great advantage to Borris-Ileigh, and Borris-Ileigh might be sitting in the long grass there now waiting. But to go back to that game, Cap White are a team that are beginning to put their team together, and there's some nice hurlers coming up. But this might be a day too far Kilshane to hold on. Okay. Now it would be a nice win for Cap White on the back of losing one of their great stars down to John Kelly, Tipperary full back, and
there was a lovely Garden of Honour there.
A former teacher in Borris-Ileigh, I remember him well, and a really nice man. So he that would be nice for Cap White to pull it through for him, but I think this time to be Kilshane will hold out.
James, your call it.
I have to agree. I know what Liam is saying on it with Kilshane and how they performed this year so far, but I have to agree with Tomás on this. Like 4 games in 14 days is a lot, regardless of anything. And like if they have the legs, they'll prevail.
Yeah,
they definitely will prevail. But Cap White, no, I haven't seen Cap White this year, but like Cap White, they've been idle for 3 weeks, so they're very fresh coming into this game. I think there could be a little bit. I think Kilshane could struggle in the final quarter here, and if Cap White can keep into them until that final quarter, I give Cap White every chance.
Right.
So on that basis, I'll edge cautiously towards Cap White, but if I just feel they might have that little bit extra in the legs come down the final stretch.
That's a 3-1 split there, Cap White and Kilshane. And to move on to the last game then for the intermediate quarterfinals, Borris-Ileigh against Knockavilla. Look again, Borris-Ileigh very impressive this year. Obviously in that group of dead lads. Knockavilla probably flattered to see in their group. They're in that group with Drom. I seen them against Drom that day, and again, to me, they don't have the quality enough to win a county championship. For me, I think this will be a fairly routine win for Borris-Ileigh. And Tomás, how do you see that going?
Yeah, I actually saw Borris-Ileigh playing against Burgess the other night in a practice match, and I was hugely impressed with them. Like Dara Hickey is back there again. Like Dara is 36 or 7 at this stage, and he was in unbelievable form. Like you have Jared Dwyer at full back as well, hurling well. Brian O'Dwyer, sister or O'Dwyer, brother, and like I think Borris-Ileigh will get over here, and depending on the draw, like I think Borris-Ileigh could be going all the way as far as the county final, and it'll be a double farm as well. The fact that their 96 team are going to be honoured in county final as well. I think it'd be great to see Borris-Ileigh. I think Borris-Ileigh will get over here, and I think they're my favourites to win the county as well. Like, just on what I've seen so far this year of them, and like they played a full strength Burgess team as well the other evening, and they were hugely impressive. Like they went out. It would have been easy to get a game against somebody outside the county of their own level, but they went up a level the other night, and we know how physical Burgess are, and they stood up to them. I was very impressed with them the other evening, and I think Borris-Ileigh will get over this one.
James, for you, Borris-Ileigh?
Yeah, I'd go with Borris-Ileigh in this. Not to get too much in the tank for Knockavilla. Yeah, they're building nicely, and I would be in the same boat as Tomás there, that I think Borris-Ileigh could go all the way to the county final, depending on the draw, of course. But yeah, they're a nice team. Yeah.
Liam, would Borris-Ileigh would be a 4 across the board for us, and obviously a nice little touch of 25-year anniversary.
Well, Borris-Ileigh for me, and as I said already, they looked to be playing within themselves when they played the Rovers, and they won handily in the finish to pull away the last 10 minutes. And one thing you have to remember too about Knockavilla Kickham's, they lost 4 players over a year ago, and 4 players to lose, any club would lose 4 players. It's a severe dent in their team preparations for winning a championship. And as well as that, am I right in saying that they got through too on the new rule?
The new rule,
yeah. So it's 4 across the board there for Borris-Ileigh. And just finishing up with the weekend's action, the mammoth weekend action coming up, the intermediate relegation semi-finals. Just really briefly, lads, I suppose we won't touch too much on either game. We kind of ran over time here, but Upperchurch against Arravale and the Rovers against Kiladangan. Tomás, who wins these games for you?
Arravale, definitely. I think I'm very disappointed with Upperchurch. Relegation is a senior as well, like, but I definitely think Arravale have shown enough. Like they did get one heavy beating, but in the first round I think it was. But Johnny Ryan and them coming back in now has been a huge help to him. So I go for Arravale, and the second one I know.
Careful what you say now.
But sure, he doesn't know what parish he's from.
He's in both camps.
He's in both camps.
I'm going to push it out. Rovers or Kiladangan?
I think Kiladangan. Look, I know Rovers were in a tough group, but they've lost 3 games. The last 3 games for a reason, and I think Kiladangan might have too much for it.
James?
Arravale will have too much, I think, definitely for Upperchurch, and I fancy the Rovers. Yeah.
Liam, I left the best to very last. First game, first of all, Upperchurch or Arravale in one word.
I'll make the first game short because that's Arravale, because any time they played the Rovers, Johnny Ryan has just pulled the strings together. He just got them. He's been the difference always when we played him in the championship over the last 4 or 5 years, and we met about 2 or 3 times. To me, the Kiladangan Rovers game is the game of the week, as far as I'm concerned.
No bias at all.
No bias.
This is your county final.
This is our county
well,
final.
You can't win in this one.
No, I can't. No, and I can't lose either, I suppose. Look at Shannon Rovers, when they're playing to their potential, they could win this game. The trouble is they're lacking consistency and tend to fade out games in the last 10 minutes when they have the game out in the finishing line in their sights. Kiladangan beat them 4 years ago and were fully deserving in the quarter final in 2019 and won it handy. They're not the same team now as they've lost a few players since. They're not the same team now. But I'm very afraid of this game, and I'm just afraid to say that Kiladangan might just have that little bit more than the Rovers and to go on and win it. And hopefully that, I hope I'm wrong, but
yeah.
But anyway, that's
okay.
the way it is. You know?
No, that's fair enough. I'll be going for Arravale, and I'll be going for Rovers in this one. I think they were in the group with that. They have too much quality, and you touched on they should have Moneygall at the start of the year as well. So, look, lads, that's the marathon of action all covered there. Thanks very much again. Look, I suppose, folks, before we head home here this evening, don't forget on Friday the 13th we have a live county final preview night, which will be coming to you live from the Scouts Hall in Nenagh in association with the Hibernian Inn, where we're here tonight and we'll record all our episodes of Along the Line. So we'll have more news about that, how you get your tickets in the next couple of days. Obviously, all the profit on the night will be going towards the Dylan Quirk Foundation, and we have some big names lined up already. So keep an eye on the socials between ckstreaming and Clubber over the next couple of days about those names we've lined up. And we've a hell of a lot more names lined up for the next couple of weeks as well. So that's been another episode of Along the Line. Thanks very much, Liam Hogan from Nenagh Garrigan, James Hayden from Nenagh Garrigan, and Tomás Matthews from CK Streaming. I've been Gary Toohey for Clubber TV. Thanks very much, and join us again next week for another episode of Along the Line.
Like their new encourages with given to easy ball by you, shot a goal! A goal for Kiladangan!
It's alright, ain't no God in mind.
Won't you follow me into the jungle? Ain't no God on my streets, the heart of the jungle. Won't you follow me into the jungle?
Leg is compromised to some degree already. Oh, just
Follow me into the jungle.